After 5 straight wins, Nelly Korda's bid for LPGA history is deep sixth in Jersey, and Rose, from the ashes, rallies to win the Cognizant Founders Cup. Welcome to the Big Pickle, our weekly look into the world of women's golf. I'm Grant Boone alongside Golfweek senior writer Beth Ann Nichols. We'd love it if you subscribe to the pod. Thanks for your feedback. Leave us a rating if you would, a review. A bit later, we're going to hear BA's visit with Rose Zhang last week, previewing her defense of her LPGA title this week. But today, she wins the Cognizant Founders Cup. And right after she finished, I didn't want to be left out since Beth Ann got to talk to her, so I spoke with Rose.
All right, here with the Cognizant Founders Cup champ, Rose Zhang, and I think the big message for today is you sit down with a Big Pickle and good things happen. You talked to Beth Ann last week and now you win. You almost fell in a bunker at 1. You missed a short birdie putt at 12. 3 down with 5 to go. How'd you do it?
Honestly, I just had to find it in me and grind it out. It was all the strength I had in me, and coming down the stretch, I really believed myself and really believed that there was opportunities out there for me, and as long as I kept myself steady and patient, it was going to happen. So, I mean, crazy to think that it actually happened, but I had it in my eyes.
How do you feel about the state of New Jersey these days?
It's probably one of my favorite states, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it loves you too. Congratulations.
So BA, first of all, happy Mother's Day to you, your first Mother's Day. And the LPGA gives all of us a single rose to commemorate the special day. I don't even know where to begin. You had 2 players, Rose Zhang and Madelene Sackstrom, separated by double digits from the rest of the field, something you just never see. And here's Rose, 3 down to Madelene Sackstrom with 5 to play, and yet somehow she comes out on top.
It was remarkable. I thought at the very least we were destined for a playoff. But the fact that she comes out and wins by 2, puts that final putt right dead center in the heart of the cup, like there was, never a doubt about it. Although she admitted to Karen Seppels afterwards that she was shaking, though you would never know that looking at Rose. But you're just reminded of just how wise and mature and an old head that she has when you listen to her in the end, and she says that she was just grinding it out and trying to enjoy the moment. That's what she told herself to kind of turn this around. The fact that she's actually able to do that. But then, of course, she gives us, in true Rose fashion, a little window into her soul to say that, it was her faith, that was giving her such a tremendous amount of peace out there and the strength that she needed to get across the finish line. And then you just realize this is a special player, not just from what she's able to accomplish athletically, but just what she has in between the ears. She's in it for the long haul.
So wise beyond her years and so wise between her ears. Indeed, an incredible finish. Birdies 4 of her last 5 holes after trailing by 3 with 5 to go. I think we need to at least go back to where we started the week, because all eyes were on Nelly Korda beginning Monday night at the Met Gala, which is not normally the milieu of LPGA players. But then again, Nelly Korda is not your everyday LPGA player. Coming into the week, having won 5 in a row, she had withdrawn from the JM Eagle LA Championship. Then the entire tour had the week off last week. And so this was Nelly's return to the tour after winning the Chevron Championship, her 5th straight, trying to win 6 in a row. But it all began on Monday night. And BA, we've talked about Nelly and the opportunity for her to try to put the LPGA on the front page of not just the sports section, but maybe the news section, or at least the style section in this case. She was dazzling on Monday night, and she said she was starstruck. I think a lot of other people were looking at Nelly.
I mean, she was absolutely stunning. I'm so glad she said yes to this opportunity and embraced it wholeheartedly. And, just listening to her talk about, how she felt on the red carpet, the names that she was dropping, looking up to Shakira, yeah. how much she enjoyed seeing her. It's just a different side to Nelly that I think fans are excited to see, not just in terms of how she looked, but just listening to her her talk about it, and putting the LPGA in a spotlight in a position that, quite frankly, it's never been before. So, it was fabulous to see. And then she comes out and she got off to a really strong start. And she, heading into the weekend, looked like she had an opportunity to really get into the mix. And I thought it was interesting after she shot 73 on Saturday that she said, "I'm human." She said it a couple of times in her post-round interview. And she is human. And I think it was, it almost felt like she was taking a little bit in stride. She was, of course, disappointed, but to listen to her, at the end of it all, I really almost felt a little bit like the conversation that I had with Annika, in that when Annika didn't get it done at Kingsmill, when she was going for her 6 in a row, and she finished in the top 15, but, wasn't really in contention, that she just said, okay, I'll start a new streak. And I kind of felt that way with Nelly, that she wasn't, this wasn't the be all end all for her, and that she sees all that's still ahead, so many big moments and big events in the summer, that there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, Nelly was, after a scintillating 66, bogey-free in really difficult conditions, cold and rain on Friday. She was 4 shots back, alone in third place when the weekend began, hit a nice tee shot at the first hole on Saturday with huge crowds out there. At a gorgeous day at Upper Montclair Country Club, about 15 miles west of Manhattan. But then dumped it in the bunker with her second shot, made bogey, and really was never able to get anything going. As you say, shot a 73, and then unable to really mount any kind of a charge on Sunday. She was 11 back entering the day, and the largest Sunday comeback ever in the LPGA Tour is 10. And yet for Nelly Korda, she finishes tied for 7th. And we talked about this on the broadcast. Unlike the sport that her parents and her brother play, tennis, where you have to beat an opponent, golf is not just about, beating the golf course. She was, even with the disappointing Saturday, she was still, tied for 3rd place when the round began. But given how brilliantly Madelene Sagstrom and Rose Zhang played the first 2 days, and then played on Saturday with Madelene shooting 66 and Rose 67, it wasn't just about beating an opponent. It was, really being left in the dust like everybody else behind those 2 players. And Beth Ann, I'm just thinking about other tournaments, men or women's events, in which 2 players separate themselves. We think about Nicholson and Stinson at Troon at the Open Championship in 2016. And then, of course, the most famous perhaps is the duel in the sun, which I referenced a couple of times on the broadcast today, Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson at Turnberry in 77. But those were narrower margins going into the final round. They stretched out in the final round, but this was unbelievable with Sagstrom at 19 under, with Rose at 18 under, and no one else, better than 8 under going into the weekend, or going into that final round, I should say. It had me scouring the record books trying to find anything like it, and we couldn't. And then Sagstrom gets off to what she said was not a great start. She chunked a chip, said she was nervous, trying to win for the first time in 4 years. But she really played brilliantly, never lost the lead until she got down the stretch to the 16th hole. As you watched the action play out on Sunday, was there a moment really and that you thought Madelene wasn't going to win?
No, I mean, I certainly, when Rose got to within 1 late in the game, I thought, all right, well, now we've got a ball game here. But I mean, I definitely thought it just didn't seem like Rose had much of a spark there. That she, as Morgan referenced several times, she just felt kind of too technical out there, and she wasn't feeling it. And then all of a sudden that changed in a dramatic way. And so, the whole chain of events on the back 9 was kind of shocking, even though it was Rose Zhang that we're talking about, and we're used to her doing incredible things, but it still just felt like, Madelene was in such control, and that this was going to be her moment. And I love the fact that the broadcast, played the drive on, vignette about her and the difficulties that she's overcome, and just how courageous she is to share her story of sexual abuse and and how it's impacted her as a woman and specifically as a player, and the people that have rallied around her. And so I'm really glad that moment played out in the back nine for viewers to see, because I think it's such a powerful message. And I also love how she handled the defeat.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful interview with Tom Abbott in the end. And she was tearful, but she was smiling. Such great perspective on the whole thing. And I'm looking forward to more things from Madeline throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, we talked about that piece. Just to give you a little insight, I had really mulled it over yesterday. It's such an important story that she tells. She's so generous to share that story. She was generous to do it 3 years ago when she was the defending champion at the tournament that she won down at Boca Rio. And Amy Rogers did a really good job telling the story, narrating the story. It was not the kind of thing I wanted to share in a quick way. And so as I, broached the idea with our producer, Jesse Wesp, and the rest of our team about airing, and telling that story, I really wanted to make sure the situation was right. It was not the kind of thing that you want to say, as she's standing over a putt to win at 18. It needs a little bit of time. And I agree with you. Her generosity in sharing it speaks really incredibly well of her. And I just look back just from the golf perspective. She's 23 under with 5 holes to go. She opened the door a little bit. She played the last 5 holes in 1 over, but Rose birdied 4 of the last 5. For me, this still feels more like Rose won it than Madeline lost it.
For sure. And I don't know. I guess that takes a little bit of the sting out of it, because Rose was so heroic in her finish. But still, I think anytime you hold a lead like that, with only 5 holes to go, it does feel like you let one go when it's so hard to win on this tour, and these opportunities, don't come by very often. But she did say she felt like she played the best golf that she's played in years this week. Yeah. And, as we said earlier with Nelly, there's still so much left on the line this year, the Olympics, the Solheim Cup, 4 more majors, that there's a lot to play for.
Well, with the victory, Rose should move into the top 15 in the Rolex rankings, and that would put her in position for one of those spots for the U.S. on the Olympic team. They have until the end of the KPMG Women's PGA Championship next month to qualify. And the final scores: Rose 24 under, Madeline Sackstrom 22 under, and Gabby Ruffles, leading the mortal division of the tournament at 9 under par, a solo third for Gabby. She'll move to number 1 in the Louise Suggs Rolex Rookie of the Year standings as she tries to become the first from Australia to win that award since Kari Webb back in 1996. Roning Yin, who won just down the road at Baltusrol at the KPMG last year, T4 with Pei-Yun Chen. I thought it was fitting that a player whose nickname is Money finished tied for 4th on CNBC as we wrapped up the broadcast today. Shi Yu Lin was also tied for 4th, and then Lynn Grant, a 67 today, Padrianana Rukarn, Minji Lee with Chani Nichai, and then Nelly rounding out the top 10. So Rose Zhang, winner today, the defending champion later this week, had a chance to sit down last week, if you can keep all of that straight, with Beth Ann, and here's how that conversation went.
Well, Rose, welcome to this episode of the Big Pickle.
Unfortunately, it's called the Big Pickle.
It's called the Big Pickle.
Oh gosh.
Occasionally, we find ourselves in a bit of a pickle. So,
I love it.
Unfortunately, Grant Boone couldn't be with us, but we're so glad that you can. We're here at Liberty National, site of your first LPGA win, a historic occasion. What are the vibes like coming back here this week?
It's been incredible. It's honestly so welcoming, and to be able to come back, there's a sense of familiarity, whereas the last year I've been going to places and I don't know anything or anywhere about with the places that I'm going to. So as a result, it's me navigating, where do I go, what do I do, how's the golf course looking. So this is going to be the first event where I'm going to say to myself, oh wow, I actually played here before.
And good things happen.
And good things happen. So I'm hoping that kind of moves forward, but no expectations.
If you could travel back in time to Sunday at Mizuho, Liberty National, you've just won the tournament, and if you could whisper something to yourself about how to handle the next year, just one thing you wish you could have known about what's to come, what would that be?
Take a breather.
Ah, yes.
Just because as a result of winning at Mizuho, there was a lot more attention, and I've really embraced that. But at the same time, I think I got a little bit ahead of myself in terms of trying to handle everything as best as I could and trying to give myself as much opportunity as possible. Sometimes it's good to, I guess, at least lay low for half a week. You know, I actually did not have a single week where I didn't do something.
Wow.
So as a result, daily was a grind on and off the golf course, and sometimes that really, even though in the moment you're not actually having any complications or you're not in a pickle, but consequences follow afterwards.
So have you built that in more this season, you think?
Just a little bit, but I'm almost playing catch up just because, when you do have a lot happening and you suddenly stop for a little bit, and then it didn't help that I went back to school and studied my life away. As a result, I'm still slowly catching up to trying to figure out and navigate around how to play the best I can while living life.
You are one of the few athletes who have done this. I'm going to go to college while playing on the LPGA route. Do you ever allow yourself to think what it would be like if you just played the LPGA and didn't try to do both things at once?
What's really interesting is, even though it's been very tiring, I have no intention of letting go of my possibilities of finishing college and getting my undergrad. The only thing is, yes, it is very time consuming. Yes, it is very tiring. It's draining, and maybe my game will take a hit here and there. I've seen it here and there where I've struggled a little bit. But at the same time, I think this is a journey that I'm willing to take on just because it's so important to me to not only play golf, but also understand how the real world works and operates, along with spending time with people who are now the future generations of what this world is going to see. So as a result, I'm just kind of thinking of it as an investment of my time, energy spent and grinding away. But there's so much to be blessed for, and I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to do both.
So when you're not at Stanford and you're navigating the grind of the LPGA, what do you do to unwind? What are the Rose nightly activities to relax?
My activities involve just catching up with friends. Usually I'd watch Netflix, watch some anime, watch just anything that's out there. I also like to read. I also like to do devotionals and just spend time with really close, valuable people, catch up with my mom, and brother. So it's just been very simple things because I don't get a lot of that in my time.
I believe that. When we were talking earlier this year at the TOC, and you said that you lost your putter, I think we all thought you meant figuratively, that you lost your putting, and then like the next day I came back, I was like, wait, did you actually lose your putter?
Exactly.
And then when you told the story of it,
that was a real pickle.
I mean, you talk about a pickle.
Oh my gosh, talk about a pickle, because that's what essentially changed the rest of my season, and even this year, putting's been struggling a little bit, and I think even though my physical game and technical part is there, it's still almost in the back of my mind, subconsciously, not actively, where I'm not as comfortable now, and I'm not giving myself as much confidence with each stroke. So we're slowly getting there, but at the same time, I think it's just funny how things turn out. Funny how my putter is now probably on eBay and no one knows where it is. It's got an Evian head cover, so anyone who's out there and knows where my putter is, please let me know.
Goodness.
That putter got me everything, essentially. I won Natties twice with it. I won Anwa with it. Basically, I used my putter the whole sophomore year and the major championships, Mizuho, with this putter. So there's some clutch putts that I made that really kind of sealed the deal and helped me and allowed me to be in those positions. It's always the short stick, right?
And not to throw your dad under the train, but it was your dad that left it on the train, right?
Yeah, and all he did was brush it off like, it's fine. No. If it were me, I would probably not be alive right now. Figuratively.
Oh man, figuratively, of course. So do you have the same model now that you had then?
No, I don't.
No.
Because also what happened was I've gone through some interesting putting situations where at Grant Thornton, I could not putt to save my life. And it really sucks because I was playing with Sahith and he's the sweetest man ever. And we had a lot of fun together. But my putter was bent 3 to 5 degrees left. So it was closed and it came from travel. But we didn't get our putter checked. So as a result, everything was very inconsistent. And I found it very difficult to be able to get putts to be online with the right speed. And that's what you need for both to make putts. So now it is the AI Smoke one. And I like it. It brings me good feel, but just need a little bit more commitment there.
Yeah, you still miss the other one. Yeah.
Oh, I miss it every day. It really is probably on eBay somewhere. It's in London, and it was just that split second. I don't even know why my dad brought the putter on the train. And he left it there. Can you imagine?
Well, at least you can kind of laugh about it a little bit.
I know I can, but I mean, you gotta let things go somehow.
Well, when we talked at the Chevron, you were working on your putting with your new instructor, Todd. Can you tell us a little bit about that relationship and what you're focused on?
100%. It's been quite an interesting transition for me just because I've been with George Pennell basically almost my whole career. I started with him when I was 12. So, long time coming.
Yes.
And he's been that constant voice in my golf game. But now, as he's getting older, he did call me at Stanford one day last year, or 2 years ago actually. And he was already telling me about how, he's been thinking and it's been very difficult for him in terms of his health. And he can't travel with me as much. So as a result, he actually made the initiation to say, Rose, I think, it may be time to try to find another coach, another mentor, because I don't know how long I can hold up. And it was really sad. It was, we were family, essentially.
Yeah.
He watched me grow up ever since I was a little kid, and he's good at what he does. And there's a reason why there's a lot of elite junior players, amateur players that go to him. But now, making that transition, I actually didn't do much to try to initiate finding a new coach, but it was during the off season where I needed to kind of think about it, prepare myself. So during school, I was able to find a coach or two and check them out. Both of them were in Florida, and Todd just it actually happened pretty crazily because we were introduced by a family friend who's also an elite player, and they just put me in as a time slot. So I just went not knowing that I was going to have a lesson with Todd. Had a lesson with Todd, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then he had very similar energy and loyalty, strength as George, and I think he knows a lot about the game. Been with Billy Horschel for 17 years, so he's really incredible, and he knows his stats very well. I think I can reach a lot of new heights, new goals through his expertise. So that's how we started working from there.
Well, let's talk about those goals for 2024. How would you assess the season thus far, and what are you hoping comes for the second half?
Yeah, I mean, we always talked about how I never had many goals in terms of what I want to accomplish, but all I know is I do want to play my best, and I want to compete at a top level, and I would play against these girls, and I'm not trying to lose, right? Like, we all have the objective of playing as best as we can and coming out as the best player at the end of the week. But I would say the season thus far has been very ups and downs, a lot more process-oriented things and reflection on myself and my game. I think that there's a lot of things that I can work on, and I find these as growing pains rather than full-on struggles. So I'm embracing those, and I think going into this next half of the season, I do want to just make the most out of what I can do and really work towards just committing to every shot and gaining that confidence back. So we'll slowly be grinding. There'll be a lot more focus on staying in the process and commitment.
When this podcast will be dropping right before the Mizuho. When you look back on that week, what was working well for you? So at Liberty National, and what do you think was able to get you across the finish line against another Augusta National Women's Amateur champion and Jennifer Kupcho?
One thing that was really distinct in my mind was I had no fear. And even though I had nerves and fear are two different things. Where you are nervous because you care, you got the little butterflies just because it's coming down the stretch, it's important. And even starting out the week, you know that this is a pretty important starting point in your career. So I had those little feelings, but once I got into the rounds, all that really dissipates a little bit. And I was able to get my headspace right and play the best and have fun. But now, looking back, I really was just a fearless player. I was able to just hit every shot that I needed to at the right times, but it wasn't because I was forcing them. It was just because I knew that I had the game in me. So now it's more so not trying to get back to that, but be back in that sort of mindset and game.
So do you feel like you have some fear now?
I wouldn't say I have significant fear now, but I will say that I'm definitely less confident than in my game because I am less prepared. Whereas before in amateur golf, I always reiterate this, that you will have so much time in between events to prepare for things. In a summer, you have 5 events, and you've got within a 3-month span, 4-month span maybe. Whereas on tour, you play 2 months and you've got 5 events, 6 events. And these are not just 2-day, 3-day events. they're 4-day events.
Yeah.
We've got practice rounds, and also me being the rookie, have to play the practice rounds to know where I'm going. So, yeah, it definitely changes and shifts the preparation and my mindset a little bit more.
You've spent a lot of time with Michelle Wie. What do you admire the most about her career and about what she's doing now?
She is one of the most incredible women I've met, and I think it's because of how well-rounded she is. And she grew up in the spotlight, just straight out the bat. I don't think anyone can comprehend how much pressure she was under.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still don't think a lot of outside people understand, because it takes a lot more resilience, a lot more grit to be able to go through everything that she has been, from injuries to media spotlight, being the face on the LPGA Tour, and then going out to do what she did at the US Women's Open, at the events that she was able to play well in. It's really cool to see, and she made herself a character that's very personable for others, and now she's carving the path for younger generations to experience the same things and exposure to the LPGA Tour as she did when she was younger with the Mizuho America's Open.
Yeah.
And then now with her, I mean, she's a mother now, she's a wife. It's crazy to see how she's balancing her life and being an ambassador for the game while she's at it. So it's truly inspirational, and we've gotten so close. So she's been able to give me a lot of good advice, and I think it's just a valuable relationship that I really care about.
So this episode will come out after Nelly Korda plays in the Cognizant Founders Cup. So we don't know as we sit here now if she's going to win a 6th consecutive start. But what do you make of the 5 so far that she's won?
It's mind-boggling, just because it's so hard to win one event, let alone 5. She's on a tear, and I think everyone really saw the potential in her to be able to do so. It's just a matter of when, and if she's able to really just like hold on every week in, week out. But her game's there, her mental game's there. She's got an incredible team that she built, and she's enjoying it. So I think, if her mind space is in, the right way the last couple events, there's no doubt she'll be in contention, and I don't doubt that she'll have great results in this upcoming event. So, we're all kind of just watching, and she's really shifting the attention for a lot of viewers onto women's golf, which I find to be also just very inspirational. But she's doing her part. she's doing great.
Awesome. Well, Rose, you're doing your part here with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for giving us the time, and best of luck to you back here at Liberty National.
Appreciate it.
Beth Ann, that was really insightful, I think, from Rose. You talk about a craftsperson and their tools, and you got to hear just how jarring it was for her to lose that putter, and for her dad to have lost it on the train from Evian there to London. She still played well, I think. She had the lead going into the final round in Malaysia late last year, but you did get a good indication there of just what losing that putter meant to Rose.
Yeah, I mean, it really did rattle her confidence in a big way, and it's been quite a journey getting back to feeling comfortable and liking what she looks at, with her putter. So obviously the win today, I think, will go a long way in restoring the confidence on the greens. But just listening to Rose, we go back and we talk a lot about why is she at Stanford? Why is she still trying to balance all of this? And I really thought it was so interesting when she called it an investment, that she's investing in herself in this time, and how she really looks at this from a long-term perspective, not just however long she's going to play on the LPGA, but obviously how this time at Stanford will impact her as a player and a woman on tour, but then beyond that, and how she sees the world and how it shapes her. And so I love that. I thought it was so insightful, and she makes no apologies for wanting to do both things and do them both well. And I thought it was interesting that she hadn't had a week off that whole time.
Yeah.
Really just get a glimpse into how crazy her life really is trying to balance all of this, and that she still felt like she was playing catch up, even though school had ended, for a few weeks, that she was still trying to, kind of come out of the fog. And so maybe, a week later, we saw her kind of, doing that at the Cognizant Founders Cup, getting into a rhythm, and that she will have all those good feelings and good vibes going into a place that she's very familiar with, and she's not having to learn anything for the first time, like she did at the Founders Cup. So, so I mean, with what we just saw Nelly do, winning 5 consecutive starts, there's no reason that we can't expect Rose to give it a go and contend here at Liberty National. It feels like that's the theme of the year.
I don't think there's any question. I mean, you have Hannah Green, who's got a couple of wins, Nelly with 5 of her 7 starts, and now Rose, as I noted, part-time student, now back to being a full-time student of the game, and with a putter that she likes. And by the way, this was not on the video that I shot with her, but after we signed off that quick little selfie video, I said, by the way, don't let your dad lose this putter on the train on the way to Liberty National. And she said, Dad, did you hear that? Yeah. No, we're putting this in the bag. So that was great.
At all costs.
At all costs. And so it should be a big week. You got Michelle Wie on the Tonight Show Monday night with Jimmy Fallon. That should be big. Her documentary comes out on NBC and Peacock later this week. This is a good reminder, especially being in New Jersey. Remember at Canoe Brook when she was trying to qualify for the men's U.S. Open nearly 20 years ago, and darn near did it. With just a few holes to go. Good reminder that with all that we're seeing with Nelly Korda's great run here and Rose doing historic things, that there haven't been many people on the LPGA Tour to take women's golf mainstream quite like Michelle Wie did some 20 years ago, Bia.
Absolutely. And she's still so much in the spotlight, and now it's so much about her legacy. And I sat down with her for a little bit as well when I was, in New Jersey early week, and listening to her talk about the mentorship program that week with the AJGA Invitational running at the same time, and players playing, juniors playing alongside the pros, how important that is to her, that phone numbers are exchanged and real relationships are forged. And this isn't just something that you're checking a box. She has experienced tour life in a way that not many ever will. And so, she knows how important it is to have those connections and have that support system. And I just love the way she's embracing that, wholeheartedly.
Well, she's a mentor to Rose Zhang, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Michelle, who went back and got her degree, not playing for Stanford, of course, but got her degree as she was playing on the LPGA Tour. I don't think it's a coincidence that Rose is committed to getting her degree as well, even as she is playing. So huge day for Rose Zhang, big week for women's golf. Nelly Korda tries to get back at it this week at Liberty National. One other note, Hyo-Joo Kim, a top 10 player in the world, got a win on the Ladies European Tour, which was played in Korea. And all the best in the world are going to be gathering here in just a few weeks' time at the U.S. Women's Open at Lancaster Country Club this week. The Mizuho Americas Open on the LPGA Tour, week off next week, and then off to Pennsylvania for the U.S. Women's Open. We are out of time, and maybe next time, if we have a chance, we'll explain where we got this cockamamie name, the Big Pickle. But thank you as always for listening. And a reminder, leave us a review and a rating if you would. Subscribe to the show so you'll get the latest episodes. For Beth Ann Nichols and our engineer Chandler Hopel. I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for listening and watching The Big Pickle, and we'll see you next time as we reopen the jar.